Call a special meeting to order, please. And we're going to start out with our interviews for applicants.
Roll call, please.
Okay.
Councilmember Edgar.
Here.
Councilmember Gross.
Here.
Councilmember Kusamoto.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Hasselbrink. Here. Mayor Murphy.
Here. Now we'll go on to the interview for applicants. Judy Estrada first, please. We don't have a podium for you. Oh, I guess we do. I'm sorry. Would Shelley, you'd like to start? Sure. Thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome.
Hi, Judy.
Hi.
Let's see, what special traits, characteristics, or experience do you bring to the Parks, Recs, and Cultural Arts Commission?
I'm a social person. I live right off of Catalina and Walnut. My kids, I have young children. They all attend Lee and Rossmore. I'm on the PTA there. I know, because I have young kids, I know so many people, so many of my neighbors. So I just feel like I also have additional perspective from the community that I could provide. And also, I don't know how the Parks Department works. Maybe if a neighbor of mine has a question, I could answer it for them.
Thank you.
Warren?
Yeah. Hi, Judy. Thank you for being here. So why do you want to serve on the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Arts Commission?
There's so much going on in the city. I feel like it's like a fresh take. There's so many new families. I feel like you guys are doing a lot, even with the medians going on Los Al Boulevard. I just want to know what's going on, how things work. I'm curious.
Thank you.
Well, we can't tell you that, I'm sorry. Troy?
Hi there. Judy, thank you for applying.
You're welcome.
What do you think is the most significant issue or issues facing the Parks and Recreation Commission?
Green space in Old Town West over here. I feel like you guys are doing a lot of new things. I notice there's more programs, especially in the summer at Little Cottonwood. But I feel like our little space over here, there's not very much green space. We have the youth center, but just green space. That's all.
Dean, you want to go next?
Thank you, Judy, for coming in. We're probably close to being neighbors.
Yes.
And just down the street. In your words, what do you think the role of the Parks and Recreation Cultural Arts Commission is?
I think it's to bring the community together. Like I said, the parks, that's where I go to let my children run around. Like I meet a lot of my neighbors that way. And also, like it's cultural, we have a lot of different cultures around here. So, and it seems like there's like more, we're getting more diverse. So, like it's to bring the community together.
Thank you.
And finally, when considering action by the Parks and Recreation Committee, how do you balance the best interests of the community against the likes of yourself and your neighbors?
It's the community's best interest. I could disagree with somebody, but if I'm the minority, then, like I said, I'm a curious person, so I like to understand their perspective. Once you understand why someone feels the way that they do, it might change your mind or just leave you a little more open to their ideas.
Okay, would you care to make any type of closing statement?
Like I said, I have a young family. I feel like there's a lot of young families coming into the neighborhoods, as well as a lot of grandparents still here, which is why we've come back. So it's a revival, I feel, and I don't know what's going on. I like to stay informed, and I also have like neighbors. We talk about certain things going on, and we're just curious. So this is just my way to help.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Kathy, it would be you next. Start at this end first with Dean.
Okay. I know the commission you're on meets and has a lot of heavy pressure, but
Yes, we do.
what special
We
traits,
do have a lot of pressure, actually, when we do meet.
what special traits, characteristics, or experience do you bring to the Personnel Appeals Commission?
Okay, my introduction to Los Alamitos was in 1978, and I was hired by what used to be in this building next door. And while I was employed there, they gave me hours and hours of endless management training. I was a sales manager for many years. I hired, I terminated, I coached, and I handled discipline action. So I think all those, all those years of experience over there and the training that was, as you can imagine, at a pretty high echelon, paid me well and gave me a broader perspective on how to handle situations that are not always comfortable.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'd rather use my question, since you've been through this before.
Yes, sir.
What do you see we can do better in the city of Los Alamitos, besides the commission? Because
Gosh, I wish you had given that to me, Richard.
given time, I
What
think
can
it's
we
the
do?
new mayor, so as a,
The traffic is an issue.
yes.
Okay, it's an ongoing issue. It's a serious problem. I live up in the Greenbrooks, which near Troy, up by the high school. It's ongoing. It's just absolutely ongoing. The medical congestion is an issue. I was just talking to Steve earlier. The parking down there is absolutely horrid. I put my mother in Catella Senior Living for a few days of respite care, and you couldn't park. There was nowhere to park, not on a side street, not on Catella, not on any side street. She's in a wheelchair, and I'm carrying luggage, so, you know, it was not very convenient. We don't really have a lot of shopping. We need more localized shopping. We don't have much for seniors. I had great stuff when your kids, great stuff. I was Girl Scout leader, Boy Scout leader, City Pride judge. I did it all. We have great stuff for young people. We don't have a lot for once you get past you start to get into your retirement age. The opportunities just aren't here. And I know we're a small city, but I've lived here 29 years, and I love my city. I want it to stay small, but I'd like to see us develop things that are profitable and beneficial to our city, because we all win that way. And so when we are, like I just was, again, talking to Steve about what's happening, that's exciting, what's going to happen to those empty buildings next door. That's very exciting. Just don't put a no-bag policy in. I don't shop in Long Beach for that reason, you know, because how are you going to take things out? That's part of the shopping experience, is the bag, you know. You got to be able to transport your groceries or your goods. And I realize Whole Food shoppers, they bring their own bags. But so, you know, that kind of stuff. My husband enjoys the bike trails. I wish our streets were a little more bike friendly. They're not cycler friendly. I don't know. I don't know. We're small.
Yeah.
We are very small, and we are impacted regularly by things that are not small, like our school district is not small, and they impact us greatly. So, I don't know. I'm sorry I didn't answer that.
No, you did great.
As detailed as.
Especially
as
for
I
no
would-
preparation, but thank you for your honesty, and
Certainly.
So Mayor, I mean, if you're off-roading
Yeah,
at this
please.
point, so I've interviewed Kathy for
Repeatedly.
the last 10 years, so do we want to continue to
yeah.
just go down?
Does anybody else have any
I
questions
don't
for
have a
Kathy?
question.
Would you like a closing statement?
Yeah, thank you.
Wow.
Thank you for applying
That's
again.
no fun.
Okay, wait, we
I
could,
wanted to tell you why I want personnel appeals, and I'm not aggressively pursuing another.
feel free, you have
Okay,
time.
all right. Well, because again, the stage of my life. I'm a caregiver for my 93-year-old mother. So I want to be part of the community. I want to volunteer. I used to come to city council meetings. That's not a luxury I have anymore. To come to a regular meeting would be virtually impossible for me. So this gives me the opportunity to feel like I'm participating, even though I realize I'm only on an on-call basis. I get all that. And I'm glad that we're not on call very often. I'm docent at the museum, so I do get to go there, but I take my mom there, but I couldn't bring her to a meeting. So it gives me a chance to still be part of the community and feel like I'm giving as a 29-year resident, and yet not committed to things that I know would cause stress for me, stress for other members of my committee, lack of attendance, things that are not very professional. So I'd like to stay on the committee if I can. I know you've reappointed me twice, and if there's other people, I totally understand. But that's where I am right now.
Thank you.
Anything else? You're done with me? That was way easy, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, and Marilyn Bates has given written answers. Everybody get a chance to see that on her application? So we have 3 applicants. We have a motion.
How are we going to do the voting? Because a lot of times the city clerk would do a ballot.
And so we only have the applicants for the number of positions that are available, so we can take a motion and a second. And if we can take them commission by commission, I'd be happy to read the motion, the suggested motion, and then,
Okay.
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we appoint all 3 applicants to the commissions that they've applied to.
I'll second.
You good with that?
Yep.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Thank you all very much.
Mayor, if I could.
Sure.
The process is fairly easy, but at the same time, we don't seem to have a lot of community interest in what we're doing. I know over the years, we've talked about the potential of council appointees to various commissions, and there's been pros and cons weighed on that. I'm not sure, but I would certainly like to have staff take a look at a different approach that we might take where we could perhaps engage more community people involved in this. I know advertising goes out and is spent in the papers. I know it's published in the Breeze and the News Enterprise, yet we still don't get applicants for the commissions. Perhaps there's a way that we as elected officials can try to engage that a little bit more. I know in Seal Beach, they represent by districts, which is not the case here, but they appoint their representatives on their various commissions, and they tend to follow the same terms as the elected officials, and each official has the ability, if necessary, to remove that candidate if they feel it's not a good match for the city. I'm just concerned that we're not as involved as we could be in this particular process, and we've tried asking the same 5 questions so that everybody gets an equal opportunity at it. But where we've got candidates that mail in their questions, and we just go along with it. If we have, like we did on the Planning Commission here a while back, we had 4 applicants for 4 seats, so it was like, gee, no difference. And yet there were some candidates that there were questions about, at least in my mind. And so we just went ahead and appointed 4 people. I would really like to see if there isn't some other way that staff could come back to us with some type of direction and see if attempting a different approach sometime might be more beneficial from the standpoint of representation in the community if the rest of you kind of agree on it. Thank you.
Brett, you got that? Okay.
I guess I just would add, if we really, I get worried that the commissions become too political sometimes by putting appointees on. And I think if we really took it to heart that we had to find people to run or put them into commissions, we could do that. You could, if you were really crafty enough and really wanted to get people that you knew to be on a commission, it's not hard to walk someone in here because no one is applying. But I don't know. The hard part I struggle with is in the earlier days, it was hard to get on a commission because it was competitive, because the people had a tremendous amount. You were picking between really experienced commissioners and having to make hard decisions. We definitely, are just appreciative that people are applying. And sometimes, maybe not tonight, but sometimes the people don't really have the requisite experience, but we think we just need people to join us on the commissions. And so, maybe personally, we should take it on a little bit more to look for people in the community as we're out there to talk about encouraging people. But I don't know, the appointment process, I watched what happened in Seal Beach too. I've seen commissioners get pulled off on controversial issues, or they thought that they were supposed to be parroting the person that put them on, and I don't know. I mean, we've come so far to be calm and where we don't have a lot of controversy. The bad side of that is we don't have a lot of interest right now by people other than the normal people. But, Dean, I'm open to it. I just, I would like to see more folks come out. I just don't know how we improve recruitment. I don't know, maybe also if you're going to do that, Brett, take a look at the recruitment or advertising process that we're trying to do, or, try and draw.
I think Wendy could expand upon it, but at least prior to the holiday times, we do some pretty extensive advertising, and we tend to get more candidates during that time. Wendy, could you just briefly talk about the advertising we do now?
Sure. So the process is the same towards the end of the year in December, as Brett mentioned, but we have a lot more terms that are expiring. So this one was a little bit harder because we had on the Parks and Rec Commission one person that just resigned, and then the Personnel Appeals is the last of our people that we're moving to the December expiration date. So this December, when it comes up, there will be more than just one or two random positions. It'll be like 5 or 6 full-term positions, and that tends to, or at least our last recruitment, it tended to bring a lot more interest. So we're hoping that the same thing will happen this time. We did post this time on Facebook, which we haven't done in the past, and it did receive a lot of interest and a lot of views as compared to our normal posts, but unfortunately that didn't translate into more applications. So we're happy to look into other ways and bring back more information for council.
Please, if you can help us out, go ahead.
You need to go over there, though, so it's on audio.
If I could suggest, possibly, December is going to be tough looking for applicants, simply because of the time of year it is. And I noticed the city calendar today, and it kind of bothered me, but I'll bring that up later. An open house, so that you can invite people in the community who want to get involved, don't know how to get involved, don't know what the expectations are, don't know, because in all honesty, until Wendy called me, I didn't know my term was up. But I sit on a real weird commission anyway, but I didn't see it in the paper, and I go to the museum twice a month, I didn't see it posted. So, you just become kind of oblivious to things in the busyness of your own lives. But if we had a community gathering, it seems to me we've kind of lost some of that, where we pull people in, like the City Pride used to pull people in a lot. And then we had a big celebration and people had signs in their yards and stuff, and they recognized that. To bring people in and encourage them, have little sessions or workshops, not formal, but this is what this commission does. This is why we need people to be part of our city, so that we can continue to be the wonderful small city that we are. And then when you have an opening, you have a pool to draw from. These people were interested in this commission. And then you can address them individually. Because Troy can't walk around Greenbrook, and Richard, you can't walk around Rossmore Highland, and Tom, you can't walk, you just can't walk around, you don't even know people. Now, next door would be a good way also to communicate that. On that next door website, we have commission openings. I didn't see anything there, and Steve posts for us on there. So, but it seems like we're getting more and more tunneled and less connected in our city, and we're small. So I imagine big cities are worse. But maybe an open house to just invite people in without any commitment. So that they're not afraid to apply and they're not afraid to volunteer their time. They're volunteering other places, and we need all levels of experience. We just don't need repeat customers all the time. We really do need a variety to keep our city healthy.
Thank you, those are excellent. Thank you. Sure.
I agree with the community, like open house, and also social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Does Los Alamitos, does our city have an Instagram or Twitter account? We do? Okay. Maybe push that whenever you have a community gathering or make a flyer, maybe add those, because through the schools, it's super low Sal pride. So maybe you could attach that to it. And just like she said, just putting it out there, people will hear it and then they'll think about it.
Thank you. Ready to go on to the strategic workshop? Bill?
Mayor and City Council, we have, this is a follow-up to the previous workshop that we had on the strategic plan with the objective of developing goals and core values and a mission statement for the city. And we have gone back based on the feedback from the City Council. Staff has worked with Bill and developed objectives to meet the goals that are included in the staff report. And Jason, you want to give introduction to Bill and what we're going to try to do tonight.
Basically going to say the same thing that Brett just said, but as Brett just mentioned, we've put up here on the board and also included in your agenda packet is the implementation matrix. So we've got the 4 broad goals that are outlined in the staff report, which is first, 1, to promote a diverse local economy and evaluate alternative financial resources. 2, review the image of the city locally and regionally. 3, modernize public facilities, and then 4, enhance public safety programs and services. And then, like I said, detailed goals and objectives, long-term and both short-term, have been outlined in the staff report and are on the wall for review and discussion. And Bill Kelly is here to kind of walk through it.
Well, Mayor and Council, now that Brett and Jason have spoken, I have nothing to say. But I want to introduce our Executive Vice President, who also participated, Christine Kelly, my wife.
Hello.
Thank you. As was discussed, just how quick this went. In April, we started with the interviews. After that, another meeting in April was to go through another board session like this and drill down. And the council got stars to put up. And then the staff took the stars and developed this matrix. But I think also important is we quantified more clearly your mission statement. We took all your words and put them back together, reestablished your core values. Those are critical to remember. I was lecturing at school last weekend, and I said, organizations that have mission statements that are understandable, everybody knows what it means and how to do it. It's not a mission statement that people forget about quickly and don't follow, but your mission statement really creates your vision, and then these documents help to ensure it gets accomplished. Now, as Brett and Jason said, we went through with the staff to reestablish the goals. I think we had initially 5 goals from the first meeting. We brought it back down, matched up the stars, and then the hard part became, and that's where the staff picked up the ball, taking those general goals and then going through and defining very specific projects. And we've done a lot of these with cities, and your staff did an excellent job in pulling this together, looking at the who does it, what is it, when's it going to be done, what are the implications, how to pay for it. I think we had a several-hour meeting going through every single one of these items with staff. And we were sort of the outsiders saying, what if, and it came down to, we kept saying, make sure that you can do this. Put time frames down that are achievable. Don't overcommit the council, don't overcommit the staff, because then you will not achieve what you're trying to achieve. So what you have before you this evening is a culmination of all the interviews, all of the council study sessions, and we think your staff done an excellent job producing for you a very good multi-year strategic plan that matches the council's desires, matches staff resources. There's still some open-ended projects because there's not funding. More importantly, though, we kept saying, if the council may recall, don't plan projects based upon what you have funds today. Plan beyond what you've got. Look for the dollars in the future, but don't diminish your opportunities. So what you have before you is some outstanding opportunities. Some can be achieved in the short term, some midterm, some long, but it was a very good exercise. We want to thank the council for your input. This was your what I'll call leadership session versus your management session. Leadership is leading for the future, and managing is a regular council meeting. So what you've got before you is a leadership report on where this council community plans to go forward in the future. And as Brett knows, one of the goals is if the council, and when you adopt these goals go on the wall somewhere in the chambers. The 4 goals go on the wall, and those goals are represented in every staff report in terms of how each action the council is discussing relates to your strategic plan. That closes the loop, and no one loses track of what your vision is. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions, or we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Dean, go ahead.
So the red stars on the project goals reflected, I guess, what we put on the board, is that right?
That's correct, yes, sir.
So there was nothing that was 5 stars?
No.
Interesting, okay. Some of these things, I kind of wonder where they came from. Even the weaknesses, I guess that was a result of the discussion.
The SWOT survey, as you may recall, was a combination of everybody's comments.
Right.
The council, the staff, et cetera. Then that generated the goals and objectives, and that generated at least some goals and projects. Some did not get any traction, some got a lot of interest. And then we had to interpret that down with staff to this specific matrix.
Well, as an example, on goal number 2, the potential of services with surrounding areas, I recall that. City's position on development and neighboring districts, that got no stars, yet it's here. Embrace a new Los Alamitos with a rebranding of image, that's here, and that got no stars. When we flip over to the back page, develop a park open space master plan that includes playground equipment replacement. I don't recall us really discussing that. It seems almost like that was a staff-driven idea, and developing a storm drain master plan, inventory and implement the city's street tree replacements so that we can become Tree City USA. None of those do I recall, and my recollection isn't always as good as it should be. But, you know, the replacement of parks and recreation equipment, we got a grant to put rubberized, whatever you call it, down on the base underneath the equipment.
Right.
And we were trying to get additional grants to do that, yet it's been a long time since we got that grant. It's not even been implemented. So I'm not sure where that is. That kind of falls over with the threats about follow-through on projects from that standpoint. I don't think focusing on tree replacement is necessarily a goal or a project from the standpoint of council. And I would like to see some of these even tightened up a little bit more, just simply because if this is something that we're going to use in a year when we're dealing with budget and evaluation of how did we accomplish, how many of these goals did we tick off, for example, I think we're setting ourselves up to have a problem. And I don't want to do that. I would rather focus on the major items that we've discussed. You know, even the advancement of the hotel development, that's already ongoing, so that's almost a no-brainer, and that didn't get any stars either. So some of this stuff, I think, is projects that we know is going on, we know staff's working on. Maybe it needs to be in here under the goals and projects. But the bullet points underneath each of the goals still need some tightening, in my opinion.
Maybe I can help explain the process. The SWOT led to some list of goals and objectives and projects, and they were some specific, some very vague. So the staff spent some time trying to interpret that, and we also participated. And some of these look like very staff-driven because you're much more defined. And so what you have before you is what the staff and we tried to interpret through the process. Were the general council discussions, where'd the stars go, and some other issues that we still felt were still part of a typical strategic plan. We do this for a lot of cities. That being said, this is still the council's list. Add, modify, subtract. But this is the staff's draft proposal for your consideration. But I do want to say, and I think Brett and the staff can agree, we kept saying, make sure these can be achieved. They can be adjusted throughout the year. That was that measurement points we said to make sure you stay on target. These can be modified, but don't put things on here that the staff felt could not be achieved in terms of meeting council's goals. I think the important thing is whatever you do with this, it's not cast in concrete. You can make adjustments. Things will change throughout the year, fiscally, organizationally, and you can make adjustments. What we don't want and recommend to change is the specific 4 goals. We want you to keep those goals in place. These specific projects will come back to you. Typically, we say at least quarterly, so council can see the status of the activities, and then you can make other adjustments to what you're doing.
Okay, so, excuse me.
Please.
Following up, but so to understand then, the 4 goals that went up on the wall are not the specific goal, but not the bullet points?
That's correct.
Okay.
There were 5 goals actually, and the 5 became 4
Okay.
as they were winnowed down.
And then I recall this part of the discussion is that when projects come forward as a proposal, that they will be tied to one of these 4 goals, so that we know that the effort is trying to reach
Correct.
one of the 4 goals that we're working on.
If a project comes in from Stephen regarding a general plan amendment or a project, where does that project fit into economic development or environmental? Where does it fit? And that tries to make the connection.
Okay. The branding part of things, which we talked about, is that something that is yet to be determined, or is that something that's still under discussion? How do you see the brand?
The branding is part of the imaging, as you described what Los Alamitos is, and that's going to be, I think it was a multi-year project. It dealt with first defining what your image, your brand is, and then looking at, do you add that to your stationery? Do you add that to wayfinding signs? Do you add that to the city entrance signs? That's a multi-phase process, and I think it's listed here as a multi-year project, just because it takes a while to do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Troy?
A couple comments. So your role in this has really been more to facilitate us, and so I think probably more of my questions are to staff, because I think this has been a process to get to here. And and I also understand that a lot of these items, you know, the staff is also taking a shot at trying to raise priority for items within that they see as potential, like the storm drain example that Dean used is pretty good. I definitely don't remember it, but I could see where, in a technical level, staff would be interested in trying to do that. So from here, 2 different ways we can go. We can just start to chew through with goals 1 through 4 and figure out, is this where we want to go? Because the matrix that's attached has more tactical steps that we would take through. Some of them are really thought through, and some of them maybe staff just didn't get to it, or there was no real clear path. So some of them seem to be more thought through. So I don't know, my preference would be that we would just quickly go through goals 1 through 4, see if these are an ordered sequence, meaning goal number 1 is the most important, 2 is the second most, et cetera. And then the kind of the mixed bag of potential things that are bulletized underneath. Some of them, some of us may be supportive of, and some of them we don't probably have a consistent view of. And I really, at the end, want to vote for something that I can holistically support. I don't want to have to cherry pick or vote no because I don't like something specific. So I don't know, Mayor, I guess I would just say to you and Brett, you know, how would you guys like to use our facilitation to get through this, given that we've got about 50 or 40 minutes to do that, and this is a pretty important topic?
I think, as you suggested, Councilmember Edgar, the main thing that we want to accomplish first is to get the council consensus on the 4 goals that are listed here. I don't think they're not necessarily listed in priority order. There's just 4 of them. And if the council agrees on that point first, what we've tried to do as staff with Bill's help is fit objectives, the bullet points within a category of the 4 goals. And so if there, as Councilmember Gross mentions, if there are, I think that there are bullet points or objectives that that the council's not interested in the staff pursuing in the future, we could cross those off the list. I mean, I think that's, we want to make it achievable. We want to make sure that we can, that we get the consensus on the 4 goals primarily, and then the objectives within, we're trying to fit those into those categories. So I would say, talk about the 4 goals and see if the council agrees on those first.
Sure.
So if that's the case, that's what I prepared for. So just really quickly, then if we can just do kind of a rapid fire, goal 1, what are the bullets that we support? And then we can see if we can get consensus on that. Of the goal 1, to promote the diverse local economy, et cetera, the initiate the economic development strategy, advance the hotel development, and consider implementing the lifestyle beautification. I think those 3 for me were the most important ones. I think it's a little bit contradicting for us to be talking about a visitation tax when we're also trying to develop a hotel. So it's like, come have a hotel here and we'll raise the tax on you at the same time. I don't think that those are really complementary. So those 3 for me. On the second one, review the image of the city locally and regionally. I'm supportive of the first bullet, review the potential services with Rossmore. We've talked about that a lot. I personally, again, think that our ability to increase revenue has to do with our ability to increase scale and provide services that are more scaled to what our capability is as a small city, as Kathy had talked about. The third bullet, determine the city's position in development of neighboring jurisdictions. I think the most pressing strategic thing we have right now is a forced ballot measure going on in Cypress that's going to make traffic and everything worse. And we need to figure out really quickly if that's something we're going to engage in or just wait to see if they collect signatures, or whether we're going to do something. We're not talking about it yet, and I think we should probably do that. Explore, the last one, explore the efforts to protect local control. You know what, I support it in general, but I think it's so cliche that we always say it. We're involved with a lot of stuff. A lot of us are very active in the county. I don't know if I want to like focus that as a strategy for us, because I think tactically we already do it. The last area, the other one, and then modernize public facilities. I think we all love that one, especially the first bullet. I think just to find alternatives. Number 4, the 4th goal, enhance public safety programs. Nothing specific, I guess, Chief, on this. It's just that I think that some of these, especially like the CERT program, is probably something that we might be able to do without the council's focus, because in the past it's always been a really volunteer and community-driven process for CERT. But I'm open if anybody has any better ideas, definitely Shelley or Warren or Dean. I know, Dean, you've been involved with that too, and Jerry before was really involved with that. That's my input. Thank you.
Thank you. Warren?
Thank you. So kind of along the lines of Councilmember Edgar, I'll start from, from my preference, starting at goal 4. So, of course, public safety enhancement, who I'm sure we're all aligned with that. Perhaps on the CERT, though, Councilmember Edgar, if I can just bring it back to you, if it's low cost from us, just really more of a philosophy or kind of a, us, I think that's something we can all get behind. So maybe that's, I don't know, I didn't look at the spreadsheet, Jason, but is there a cost associated with CERT being one of the start items? And what is that?
It's minuscule, I can tell you.
Yeah.
1,500.
It's in our budget a bit
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, but-
Yeah.
So it's not like it's extra. So anyways, I think that's a certainly definitely something we can get behind. The Civic Center, the Civic Facility Campus Alternatives, that's something that we've been talking about a long time. It's going to be exciting to see how that develops, as well as the Senior Center. And I think Bill, it's a good thing you were here when Kathy spoke about, sort of off the cuff, and thank you for that. No, it was really good because this speaks to that, right? The aging population that we have. I mean, that's just not here, but that's all over the place. And how do we address those? And I know we have the senior club here, and we've been to those lunches that they've had, and wonderful welcome, that we always get when we're there. So we have to look at those type of things. On the goal 2, sharing of services, I think, I've had many discussions with Brett and a little bit with Stephen on this one, but, that chance meeting with Shane Silsby from the county, just kind of, bringing up Troy's name on that because he sits on the Rivers and Mountains Conservancy. If we can look anything to do to help our friends down in Rossmore without, threatening them, certainly I think we should get behind that, make it no cost to us and, better service to them in, conjunction with the county. I think.
And we did just recently meet with the Public Works Director, Shane, and the CEO, Frank Kim, and very productive.
Yeah, and I think that's
meeting.
really no cost to us other than it's your time, right? But as we can scale, if we can scale up anything, and I think we can scale up rather easily, right, with the services that we have on contract. So I think that's good. And then always the relationship we have with the base, the folks on the base, and even that aren't there that are the movers and shakers. Local control, as Councilmember Egger said, certainly we are all striving to make sure that we have local control. On the goal number 1, though, I'm really excited about these. The economic development strategy, I think that's something that I see as there is a TBD. Did I see that on the matrix? And
Yeah.
so what this entails, I think we really have to kind of get behind and figure out what we have to do for that. I agree with the visitation tax. Maybe that'll be part of the economic development strategy, because I think as there is a take, we certainly want to have a give for that. There's going to be a benefit for that. And then I think beautification is a thing that is happening. It's going to be exciting to see how that all unfolds. And then the assessment district, I know we didn't get a whole lot of traction. I think that star is probably mine. But I think that when we look at on the goal 3 about modernizing public facilities, we have to look at where those revenue streams are going to come from. And so, again, as we might look to ask an assessment district to cough up, to put in some money, we certainly want to make sure it's going to be a benefit to them and it's going to pay off in terms of increased traffic, destination place, services to the public. So I think that one probably might go hand in hand with the beautification, the revitalization, and then Civic Center as well. And we're looking at opportunities for, again, obtaining resources and then reinvesting that. So that'll be interesting, but I don't know how we get there, and it'll be interesting to see how the council would get behind that and what kind of appropriation we can make to get somewhere on that one. So that one I'll look forward to seeing. But I think these are good, and we'll see where it goes. But thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Shelley?
All right, so I'll start with number 1. For goal number 1, as far as tightening up, 3 of these 6, we're already well underway, and I don't want to put down goals so we can say, wow, look what we've done when we're already doing them, so we can celebrate and have cake. So the hotel development, that's well underway. I don't think it needs to be on the list. The La Salle beautification, same thing. And then also, I believe, we're at least starting to get underway the fee cost allocation study, correct? So those 3 things I don't think need to be on a long-term strategic because they're already in action. So that would at least tighten up goal 1 so we could really put some effort into the how to do this economic development strategy, because that's the main meat of this whole goal. And I think we need to spend a lot of time on that and just kind of get rid of the ones that we're already doing anyway. The visitation tax and the assessment districts, those are great ideas. I just don't know if the timing's right on that. For goal number 2, we've reviewed the potential services with Rossmoor County. Let's propose them. We know what we can offer them. Let's go to the next step and do something with them. Enhanced cooperation, it's another thing. That's just part of our daily job. When we network and we meet with the people over at JFTB, I don't think that needs to be a goal. It's something we do anyway. The city's position on the development of neighboring jurisdictions, right now, that's one discussion over one piece of development. I think, I don't know if it needs to be on a long-term strategic type thing as far as let's just discuss it, make a decision, support or oppose, and then we're done with it. The rebranding, that's going to kind of fall as we hit these goals and see what we look like. And I agree with the other comments with the local control. Once again, that's part of our daily job. We're supposed to be out there promoting local control because that's what helps us. The park and open space, that needs some time into it. I think that needs to be top on our goals in that area. The storm drain master plan, once again, it's something, same thing with the trees. I mean, these are all just part of ongoing staff's jobs that I think we just need to keep addressing and make sure that, they're actively looking for grants. What do we need to do? Stick them on the CIP list and those type of things. The public facilities, both of those are great. Kathy stole my rant about the senior center. We've got to have a senior center. I don't care where it is, but we've got to have something. I think that's going to fall in as we evaluate the civic facilities and look at the different alternatives. And goal number 4, we already have a CERT program. It's just not very well advertised. I'm part of it. Neighborhood Watch, I think that's something in the Citizens Committees, that's something that we can charge our new police chief with, looking at different options. He's got some ideas of his past experience of successful programs he's done, but I think just keeping it as a goal so we can make sure that things are being implemented and fleshed out. And same thing with the housing. So those are my comments.
Thank you. I agree with Shelley that we are along the way, but I'm very excited that we are making progress on our local economy goals, and I think that an economic development strategy, it's good to sit down and look to the future. You get so mixed up in all the daily events. I think it is good to step back, but I think we're making progress with the beautification, and I think we're making progress with Lincoln Properties. So I think, we are on the way there. I too would like to see what we could do about local control. Unfortunately, we live in a state where a lot's done by fiat out of Sacramento, and it does limit what we are able to do there. I think the biggest goal we have is to modernize the city, including the public facilities, which includes, in my mind, the beautification as well as what we do with the city campus here. And it's very important that we do evaluate future opportunities, not only for the senior center, but for the city itself. As Troy spoke about, we know our bills are going to go up. We've got to create growth to match that. That's really not an option, because the pension plans will just eat us alive if we don't have continued growth. And luckily, we've been able to keep ahead. Jason keeps pulling rabbits out of the hat, and I'm afraid you're going to run out of hats here. So it's
Or rabbits.
or rabbits, either one. We need them both. But we've had a lot of good ideas as to keep the balanced budget at this point. And Bill, why don't I give you the remaining few minutes to tell us where we go from here?
Mayor,
Oh,
do
sorry.
we get any feedback on each other's ideas at this point? I mean, that was the first time that we kind of went through, because there was a couple things that were said I would just like to ask questions about.
We
But
got
we're
5
really
minutes.
close to the end.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I mean, if we aren't going to do this right, we probably shouldn't waste our time doing it, my perspective. So, we've also complained that we have an issue sometimes with tactical completion of what we want to get done in real time, and now we're loading on strategic stuff that just compounds that problem. So I think at some point, again, a little bit of my concern of doing this from the very beginning was I'm really focused on the short-term ability to execute, and I'm not as focused right now on the strategic. But if I think we need to have a discussion, because a lot of us, some of us went through every single one of them and reaffirmed good. So what was the message to staff? That we still want to do all of these? And there was a lot of blank spaces in the matrix. So I still think we need to go back through and really kind of pin this thing down, as some of the folks had said, and really debate and have healthy discussion, because this is really the 3 to 5 year plan out. So I don't know, Mayor. I mean, I would prefer, if we can't close it off here, either stay after the council meeting and continue this one, or move it to a different date so we can do it right. We spent a lot of money to do this.
I do know Bill's not available tonight, but, yeah, I certainly don't think we're done.
Okay.
That's why I was asking, where do we go from here? How do we keep the momentum we're gaining, going? What is the next step?
I should have remembered as I pulled out your birth orders, we have 3 directives, 1 only and 1 youngest, so this debate was to be expected. The process it's an evolution. I think it's a very healthy discussion, it's an interpretation, it's a partnership. I think all the comments are valid. In one sense, maybe we overdid the list in terms of trying to quantify. I think it's now go back with staff. I think we understand better what you're thinking about, and I think we can work with staff to work on a more refined list, come back to council, another study session, and keep drilling this down. I mean, this really is your roadmap, and you got to all be happy with it, or it was a meaningless process. I mean, you're a very deliberative council, and I think that's why you need some more time to think about it. I think we're more than happy to work with the staff and go back to another study session and
Would
keep
it be
working it.
a month, 2 months? What are you thinking?
We're the middle. We're gone in the middle of July. Let us see if we can pull it off before we leave out of town, so that'd be in the first part of July.
Okay, and we're done with the budget committee now, and we have a lot of free Mondays open, and we could give this the time it deserves.
Oh, really? Oh, really?
Yes, you do.
No, it does deserve the time. This is your roadmap. Yeah, we'll try and get this rescheduled before the middle of July. How's that for
Okay.
target? Is that staff okay?
We'll do that.
I would concur. I think there's a lot in here. There's, as Troy mentioned, there's some in here that really is worthy of some additional debate amongst us in that process. And by the time we got through with the interviews and got started, it was, essentially
5:30.
20 minutes to 6. So 20 minutes on this is not fair to the community, not fair to us in this particular process. It needs to be a total subject-only meeting type of a thing, so that we can really get to where we want to go and do it, as Councilmember Edgar says,
It's
do it
usually
right.
easier to par down than to par up.
Yeah. Well, you've done good so far, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
So we adjourn now to the next
Yes,
meeting.
we'll adjourn the special meeting. Okay, you don't want to be seen wearing the same suit.